Savage Dragon number 27 from April of 1996. Will Dragon say yes or no to Rapture's proposal here and become Mr. Sharona Jackson? Inquiring minds want to know. As does Josh Eckhorn, who is a brain-damaged degenerate. And last issue, Cyberface here had taken over the Vicious Circle after masterminding a prison break. And now the heroes are just sort of commiserating after the battle. Too many to name here. But looks like Justice and Dart are kind of flirting. And then She-Dragon and the Dragon sort of confirm that Johnny Redbeard is dead. And Amy thinks that's a bummer. And Amanda Mills over here is also bummed out. The redhead who looks awfully familiar. I believe this is another page that Larson was able to reuse from his Spider-Man run, but I couldn't find which issue. So if you let me know, just please do in the comments. He did this at least once before in issue 25. We're going to look at that later, but it's pretty smart. You know, you get to... there's no Spidey here, so all you got to do is just recolor it and change a few word balloons. Pretty genius. So now we're just wondering when Rapture is going to pop the question, but not yet. So they go clothes shopping, have a nice date, go to a restaurant, and then at night, Rapture is sent flying off the waterbed when Dragon rolls over in his sleep. You know, I don't think I'd sleep in the same bed as him. If he wakes up like in a nightmare or something, he's liable to accidentally crush your skull or something if he throws a elbow or a leg. I don't know. Seems pretty dangerous. So this is the first appearance of Brute Force. And they show up to help out with the gang war, but they're told that they're too late. So it's just a total joke. And now for the moment we've been waiting for. The proposal. So Sharona gives this nice speech, and then she pops the question, Dragon, will you marry me? I love this page. She's just all hair. Look at that. How can he say no? But he doesn't say anything at first. He just kind of blankly stares at her, not for sure for how long. But he's shook. Then he starts with the, hey, we just moved in together. This is so sudden. And then he says he needs to think about it. So it's not an outright rejection, but that did not go well. And now Chelsea Nirvana visits their father, the original Dr. Nirvana, the notorious supervillain, who is now on life support. But now that Chelsea is a new man, literally just a young male copy of Dr. Nirvana, they decide to pull the plug on dear old dad. First, lifting the decrepit old guy by his fingers in the nostril here, then slapping him across the face, and then an injection of Solution X, which finishes the job. Oh, this is a great panel here with Dragon imagining what his life would become if he marries and has children. So him and Rapture would both get fat and have like, I count 5 little versions of themselves running around. You know, this is the kind of panel that horrified me when I was younger. But now that I'm older, I'm thinking it doesn't look too bad. You know, drinking beer, watching TV, nice lady cooking nachos, and she has a dump truck for an ass. You could do a hell of a lot worse than that. So Dragon's expressing all his fear to his pal Frank Darling. And, you know, hell, he has a wife and has a family with wife and kids. And he tells Dragon there's nothing to fear. And that Sharona is a good woman and to go for it. So this is a great pin up here by Dave Johnson, who is a fantastic artist responsible for the, Super Patriot series, which was also excellent. And here's an ad announcing that the Turtles are coming to Image Comics. So after Mirage folded up, the Turtles moved to Image Comics for a few years, 23 issues. And then after that, they winded up at IDW. So they got a kind of a crazy publication history. So now Rapture is regretting her decision, and she's just afraid that she's ruined everything. Meanwhile, Dart has a date with Justice, the guy we saw her flirting with earlier. And Dragon is at this cop bar talking it over with Alex Wilde. And she says that he can do better. You know, he shouldn't marry her, that he can do a lot better. And the fans would love that. They've been shipping these two for a while. And Dragon's imagination is very active here. You see there's images of his kids still running around. And also Officers Gone Wild here, as Alex pops her top and declares her love for Dragon, in his mind anyway. And then Rapture and her tube top are stretched to the limits here. She's worried that she's potentially screwed up her relationship, and that it's anyway. There's this. This is a great issue if you love character development. There hasn't been a single action scene this whole issue. No fights or anything, and there won't be. So that's pretty rare, especially for like a '90s Image comic. But Larson still manages to make the story visually interesting. It's not just like a bunch of talking heads or anything, which it could very easily be. It almost reminds me of like a Woody Allen or a Paul Simon film, where you got a dude coming to grips with his idea of like not being a bachelor anymore, just fear of commitment and settling down. And there's like a lot of adult humor and just kind of fantasy that you'd see in those like 70s and 80s films. So we're getting to the emotional crescendo here. Dragon is in tears, explaining that he can't give the life that she would want, and that he can't marry her. But then she drops a bombshell. Rapture is pregnant. So what a hell of an issue. Great character development and insight. And Larson does so much on every page and every panel that it's rewarding to long-term readers. And there's like a relationship developed. So like even like a wordless panel with just a look between two characters, kind of tells you everything you need to know. So before I get to the letters page, we'll just make a note. I don't know if you caught it, but we got a cameo down here of the Max rummaging through the trash out here. So we'll see a little bit more on that later. But let's get to Fanatics. First off, Eric reveals that the final vote count was decided by a margin of 8 votes to have Dragon say no. So the final count was 258 yes votes, lost to 266 no votes. And Larson says he had made plans to cover his butt no matter which way the voting went. And ultimately, it makes sense, because ultimately the pregnancy reveal was going to be the cliffhanger either way. So on to the letters. You get your usual sort of questions. We love a numbered list of questions here. Olav Beamer makes his usual appearance. Here's a useful one. Grant Goodman says that he didn't read Freak Force, and so he asked Larson to help him out and catch him up. And let's see what Larson says. I'll just read this verbatim. Chelsea Nirvana was the daughter of the original Mighty Man's greatest foe, Dr. Nirvana. She got a job as Freak Force's receptionist to destroy them from within. And she made her move towards the end of the Freak Force run and forced Redbeard to give her his powers. And then Redbeard was killed by her boyfriend, Jerry, the Inhabitor, Steele. Jerry Steele, the Inhabitor. Eventually, the powers transformed her to look like him, and Redbeard had the ability to give people superpowers, and he's responsible for the creation of a good many freaks in Chicago. So that's hopefully helpful. What else do we have in here? We got a couple of notes on the Savage Dragon cartoon, which is airing on the USA Net channel at 12:30 a.m. or p.m. on Saturdays, and then 11:30 on Sundays. And That's interesting because, like, yeah, I wasn't watching Saturday morning cartoons at this point, but I think that show like jumped around a lot or something because I very rarely ever saw it. What else do we got here? Yeah, and the action figures are coming out. So he lists all the action figures that are out: the two dragon figures plus the she dragon and barbaric. Those are all shown here. And then not even he didn't even mention the Jim Lee TMNT line, which I'd completely forgot about until today. And I just found out there's apparently a comic that came with these figures or something too. So I might have to track that down. And then he mentions the Super Patriot action figure coming out later this year, which is totally badass. And what else? We get confirmation on, yes, which issue of Spider-Man was the one that he reused the pages from. So it turns out it was issue 21, which has one of the most badass covers ever. Issue 21 was the one that he reused the page for. So he says he had to redraw this, but I understand having to redraw a star because, Spider-Man, that star. And there's the checkerboard pattern, but I don't know. Some of these lines look freaking identical, but there's some that are totally different. So I don't know. I mean, her face, like that looks pretty daggum close. Anyway, that sort of stuff is pretty fun to me. All right, that is it for this issue. Next up is, I think that's it for the letters. Next up is the Max in issue 28. And I'll be giving away a duplicate copy in a contest next episode. So we got that to look forward to.